Welcome to the Pregnantpreneur Project, your request to the most sacred adventure of your lifetime. Here is your host, Blanca Vergara.
Hello and welcome. My name is Blanca Vergara. Today we have another edition of the Pregnantpreneur Project. Here on the line we have one of my heroes of pregnancy, of humanity. It just really goes beyond pregnancy for me. This lady came up with a combination of several technologies and methodologies, some very ancient, and an observation of how women were meant to give birth, and created a unique method called hypnobirthing. Her name is Mongan, and I am just so delighted to have heard about her, because thanks to her method, I can tell you that I was able to have an outstanding experience when I had my baby's son being born. I was 40, and I can tell you that the word pain was not really there. Mary Mongan was named the World Birth Hero in 2011 by the World Birth Organization, and I can tell you there are many good reasons for this. Mary, I am so delighted to have you here. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm very pleased for your interest and the interest of your listeners.
I am so delighted. Let's start with a broad introduction on the method that you created. Can you help us? What is hypnobirthing? What is that?
Well, I think you described it very well. It's a combination of using hypnosis for birthing. And actually, it's predicated on the thought that when a woman is totally relaxed, she births the way nature intended. The body was created to birth, but fear and tension is what gets in the way. And so with hypnosis, what we do is we teach the couples, actually the dads are involved in this, we teach them self-hypnosis, and they teach their bodies to be able to respond almost instantly in going into a tremendously nice ultimate depth of relaxation. They're fully awake, but their bodies are just totally relaxed, so that the muscles, the birthing muscles, are able to open and the baby is more easily born.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. And now I'm surrounded because I'm pregnant again.
Oh, how
so
wonderful.
I am. Thank you very much. That's actually the reason why I'm doing this series, because now I feel that I cannot just keep the secret of the wonderful birth that I have, but I want to share it with other people. Your work is so life-changing for me and for my child, for my family. And I know that you have helped hundreds of families. Tell me a little bit, or tell us a little bit about the story. How did you start this? It's just so revolutionary.
Well, actually, I did it back in the mid-50s and early 60s. I really didn't know anything about hypnosis at the time, but I just believed that because women are created to birth, that there was something wrong. It was incongruous to feel that something that is so natural and such a common human function should end up being so painful when nothing else is painful with muscles unless there's something wrong. And I kept saying, there is nothing wrong with birthing. And so what I did is I found at the time Grantley Dick Reed's book, Childbirth Without Fear. And I knew I had found the answer to what I was feeling, that it didn't have to be surrounded with fear or tension or pain. And so what I would do is each and every day I would relax, and I got myself to the point where my body would just slip into relaxation very, very easily. And as a result,
No problem.
Yeah, as a result, my first birth was 2.5 hours long, and it was just absolutely wonderful. I had absolutely no pain during the entire labor, but unfortunately, the nurses, accustomed to putting women totally anesthetized, put an ether cone over my face when I was just ready for the baby to emerge. And when I reflected on that after, I said, now see, I know it can be done. And so after the next birth, which went the same way, I didn't have a bit of pain. But when I got into the delivery room, which back in those days, everybody had to go to the delivery room and everybody had to be anesthetized. And again, with my baby crowning and being ready to be born, they would put the ether cone on me. And on the third birth, I spoke to the doctor and told him I really, really needed him to support me. And he did. And my third birth was my daughter's birth, and it took about an hour and a half. And I birthed her entirely without pain, without any kind of medication. And it was just wonderful. And I knew that that was the way all babies should come into the world. And the babies are calm, they don't cry, they are just so mellow because they've experienced that relaxation every day. And then I went on to have a fourth. At first, you see, my daughter was only 6 pounds, 11 ounces. And everybody said, well, anybody could do that, a 6-pound, 11-ounce baby. But my next one was 8'11". And,
wow.
Yeah, and so they decided, well, maybe, this isn't the case, and maybe the size of the baby doesn't really make any difference. And so that was the story of my 4 births. But at the time, I was a teacher. I was not a nurse. I have no connection with the medical field, except when I, of course, prepare parents to give birth. And I figured no one is going to take what I have to say seriously. And so I just let all my theories sit there. And I would feel so bad when I would hear women talk about 20-some-odd hour births or even 12-hour births and what they went through. But I just kept it on hold. But then my daughter became pregnant, and I knew I didn't want her to have the kind of birth that was common at the time. And that's when I developed hypnobirthing for her. I had taken a course to add to my counseling. I had taken a course in hypnosis, and it was then that it occurred to me that that's what I had been doing as I birthed each of my children. It was a form of self-hypnosis. And so I developed the program for her, and there were 2 other women who were pregnant at the same time. And within a very short time, the local hospital, of course, saw 3 women come in and birth beautifully. And from that point on, it just took on a life of its own. I had no intention of turning it into something that would, be spreading throughout the world as this is. We're in 42 countries now. And, but it just, as I said, the world was ready. The timing, I think, was right. And it has really been accepted beautifully.
And I think it's not enough, Mary. I wish that 100% of the women would know your method and would birth without violence, without fear. Yeah, I want and I see more expansion. And I wanted to touch on something that sounds like a coincidence, but it's not. The reason why you created hypnobirthing was because your daughter was pregnant.
Right.
And the reason why I created this program It's because I'm pregnant of a baby girl.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what it is that you just can't let it sit. It just bubbles up inside you, and you want to tell the whole world that birthing can be beautiful and joyous. And so I know what you're saying. This is the way I felt for years. I wanted to just shout it from the rooftops. So I can understand your excitement about it now and your excitement about wanting to let other people know about it.
Absolutely. For me, the life-changing part of your book and your method is this chapter that you call Releasing Fear. And before you talk about the history and how we went from from natural birth to fear. And this releasing fear, I found it so profound, and how you go to actually let go of that concept. Mm-hmm. Can you help us on that? Because I think that's the core of, or for me, that was the core of your work.
Well, actually, when you say that these are life skills, they really are. And what we do is use a hypnosis script to help women, and everyone really, to understand that we create our own fears. We have a choice. We can choose to face a situation confidently or to face it with fear. And the fear release that we do actually stays with people. In fact, so many people have said, it's changed my life because I no longer fear things. I know that I have a choice to think of it as fear-provoking or to think of it as just something that I need to meet. And it really does. It works wonderfully, and these skills do become life skills. Women and their husbands say that they don't react to things the way they used to. They respond instead. And it makes for really a very peaceful family.
Yeah, you bet. Maybe it's relevant for me to share a little bit of my birth with Hypnobirthing.
Wonderful.
My birth was 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really 10 minutes in the non-hypnobirthing vocabulary, pushing.
Uh-huh.
Because I will ask you about that so that people know about the hypnobirthing vocabulary. And our baby was born sleeping.
Well, isn't that something? That, you see, your baby didn't experience birth trauma. You were relaxed and you were free of fear. That is wonderful. No
tearing in my muscles. It's just perfect, and that's what everybody should be having. I think very also crucial in this reframing of the word fear is the vocabulary of hypnobirthing, and I found that beautiful. Can you tell us more about how you have changed how we speak about birth, pregnancy, labor, and all those funny words?
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, our words actually shape our experience. If you, on any kind of occasion, hear a word that is frightening, your body reacts to it. And when I put this together, what I wanted to do was soften the language so that it reflected more of what was happening within the woman's body, rather than use the medical terms that sometimes are very frightening. And if they're not frightening, they're certainly not soft and joyous. I mean, for instance, people refer to a mucus plug. Yeah. And I think that's an awful expression for what that we refer to it as the uterine seal. And the purpose of the uterine seal is such a marvelous and miraculous thing. When the body becomes aware that the baby has attached, and you've got a viable baby there, immediately the body creates a seal at the opening, the mouth of the cervix, that protects the baby from any bacteria. And, you know, it is so important, and to refer to this as a mucus plug that just dislodges. There are others, people talk about, well, you start your birthing with a bloody show. And I think that's a terrible way for a woman to go into the most wonderful experience she's ever going to have, thinking in terms of a bloody show, because it's not always blood. Sometimes it's sort of like egg white. It's a gel type thing, sort of like egg white. And it can be clear. It can have slight pink on it, or it could have blood stains. So we don't use anything that sounds like bloody show. We use that when this happens, the woman discovers her birth show, and she knows that things are happening within her body. And there are other things. For instance, we don't use contraction.
I love that.
To contract means to make small. And the whole purpose of labor is to help open the cervix so that the baby can move down. And what happens, what she's experiencing is really a uterine wave or a surge. And that surge reaches down and helps the muscles to open. And it's so much nicer than thinking contraction. Contraction is a sort of like constriction. And so there were words like that. And we don't refer to catching a baby. Nobody's throwing anything. And so we refer to actually when the baby is born and the baby actually emerges, we refer to it as receiving the baby, because after all, birth is a reception for that little one. And so instead of catching him, we receive the baby in what we consider a celebration of life.
That's what I love at the core of your method, is that this celebration of life, not this almost illness. This You know, I want to share with you because you know, I live here in the Netherlands, and quite likely many of our listeners speak Dutch. That this effacing or dilation, you know, my English is sometimes funny. That what we call in hypnobirthing opening.
The
in
opening,
Dutch,
instead of dilating. Mm-hmm.
In Dutch, they call it ontsluiting, which is really fantastically funny because ont is the negative, sluiting is closing. So it's the negative of closing.
Really?
So I find it really, now I find it funny, but I could see it almost as offensive because it sounds to me almost like a machine. And we are not machines. We are magical life bearers, and that's which are opening to life. And I found that it's so profound that the words that we use really change our reality, and that's something so powerful of your method.
Well, I think the language is extremely important because the way we approach things, as I said before, really determines what our experience is going to be. And the more you can make it soft and joyous and mellow and all of that, and our babies are the product of this. And I shouldn't use the word product, but the result. Mm-hmm. Babies are also soft and mellow and just so beautifully tranquil. And so many parents will write to me or call me and tell me that this baby is just so sweet all the time and very little crying because they really haven't come into the world hurt. They haven't gone through that trauma of birth. they haven't heard their mother screaming and that sort of thing. And babies do hear. There's no question about that. But the relaxation every day that the mother does helps her, helps the baby. And so it's really important how we think about birthing, and in our thinking, the way we talk about birthing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think this is also self-empowerment, because this is self-hypnosis, and that means that you are under control. It's not that somebody is hypnotizing you or somebody is doing you. And this brings me to how you talk about this, the model of being dependent and the model of being the whole person. One day I was just so furious. I went to a presentation on traditional way of giving birth, and the midwife was saying, in my deliveries, and I was thinking, well, it's not her delivery, it's mine.
No.
It's mine. And of course I don't use the word delivery. It's my birth.
Yes, you're not really
it's my
even delivering.
Experience.
You're giving birth, right?
Yeah. So I would like that you elaborate on that. I mean, this concept of you are a whole person and you are not dependent is crucial for hypnobirthing.
Exactly. I am working on a presentation now that I will be giving at a meeting in London, and what I'm talking about is that it's not about so many women are wanting to have the kind of birth that we talk about, but they just don't know how to say to their care provider, no, I don't really want that. And what I'm saying is hypnobirthing moms are more concerned with saying yes to their own dreams, their own thoughts of what birth will be, rather than saying no to somebody else. It's that yes, the empowered woman, and they do definitely go into birthing empowered. You're so right. And they're not just turning their birthing and their babies over to other people. They are actually actively talking to the baby during the birth, and really it's theirs, absolutely theirs. I've laughed too as I hear people say, I delivered X number of babies, this week, and babies are not being delivered, they're being birthed. We always kid here about packages are delivered, pizzas are delivered, but babies are birthed.
Oh God, Mary, I'm crying. This is just so important. This is just so important. And I think it's this empowerment that we are having women by being distracted with trying to be testosterone powerful, when our power is this one, birthing, and to say yes to our dreams. This is the direction we should be using this feminine power. It's wow. Yeah, I was already blown away by your method.
Well, it's really that if we could reach more women and let them know that the way they're approaching their birth with fear is exactly what's creating the very result that they don't want to have. And they do very often feel helpless. Whereas with hypnobirthing, they own their births. The couple actually is very aware that this birthing is theirs. It's not someone else's. And that they are really the important people there, and they have the right to have their dream and to be faithful to it, and not just experience somebody else coming and taking over.
Absolutely. The ladies in the audience are pregnant now, so they are in the stage of getting ready to deliver the baby. So what do you recommend that they can be doing right now? What kind of preparation they can be doing right now?
Well, there are many things they can do. For one thing, they can take care of their nutrition. It's so sad when you hear a woman was rushed into her birthing and rushed into inducing because she had preeclampsia, which is, preeclampsia usually is recognized by the presence of protein in the urine. And so they need to know they have to really, really eat eggs and meats and things like that. And we recommend even a person who is a vegetarian, this is the one time they are creating and building bone and cartilage and muscles. And so nutrition is extremely important. It's very important, if they feel strongly about that dream, that they choose the right care provider. And they're out there. We have many, many wonderful care providers out there. And we have a lot who see hypnobirthing and are really kind of converted to it when they weren't before. But the parents have to speak up and tell them what it is that is so important to them. So they really need to spend as much time in shopping for the right care provider, because you can have every dream in the world about how wonderful the situation is going to be when you bring your baby into the world. But if you have secured a caregiver who looks at the body, as you said before, as a machine and doesn't consider the emotional event that is going on in these lives, it doesn't matter what your dreams are. If the provider goes in and takes over, it all goes out the window. And this is why I say the yes is so important, yes to themselves. But that's so important, is getting the caregiver. Also, I keep telling my people, my moms and dads, that Pavlov's dog never would have salivated if Pavlov had rung that bell only once. And what they need to do is condition their bodies. They really, really do, to be able to slip into this relaxation. And they're not going to do it by just going to a class and listening. And they're not going to do it by maybe every so often going into the relaxed state. The relaxed state is just so important during their pregnancy. It really, really is. They need to really embrace the whole idea of preparing their body. Nature will take care of it for them if they have just prepared their body. And another thing that we kind of laugh about here is that I will say, people will say, you're going to have a baby without anesthesia? Are you out of your mind? But that's exactly what I say to them. Absolutely. You're getting your mind out of the way, the mind that says, what if this won't work? Or what if I do this? And what if? They need to trust birth. They need to trust their bodies. They need to know that there isn't anything that they can do to improve upon the experience. So what they need to do is stop getting the mind talk in there that keeps reminding them of the horror stories that other people have told them. They really have to relax and let the mind talk go away and be willing to just turn the birth over to nature. Babies know how to be born. They really do.
Yeah, this is so beautiful. I want to quote Joseph Chilton Pierce, who is also in this series. I'm so amazed. This great man says, nature plans for perfection. And I think it obviously is also applicable for birth.
Yes, definitely. We have a midwife here that says, birth has an absolutely perfect design. And when you study birth, not just what's going to happen, it's not about getting mom through labor so that she can survive labor. Birth has a perfect design. And this woman, her name is Karen Strange. She's a midwife here in the States. And she says birth has a perfect design in case no one shows up. And that is so true.
Yes. Yes. I don't remember where I read it, if it was in your book, of the story of this lady who was in coma.
Yes.
And because she was in coma, the birth was, very easy. Well, it was a pregnant woman. So since she was out of her mind, the body took over, and the birthing was just birth.
That is exactly right. We have experiences all the time where we just act intuitively. And people say, well, why did you do that? I don't know, but I had to, and it worked. It was wonderful. And that's what birth is all about, too. Yes, the story that you're talking about is a woman who was in a nursing home. She had been in an automobile accident, and so she was in a coma, and they had moved her to a nursing home because there was nothing really that the hospital could do. And what happened is she was pregnant. And no one knew that she was pregnant until, of course, she began to, become larger and larger. But they had no idea what her date of birth was going to be. And they were all surprised to find that one morning they heard an infant crying, and she had given birth. The body knows what to do. There isn't anything we can do except prepare.
So you in this preparation subject, you mentioned to condition your body, to condition your mind, food, to shop around for good caregivers. Is there something else that you would like to add?
Oh, well, of course, having a supportive mate is important. What we call a labor companion. That's another one of our words that we've changed. Labor is not an athletic event, so we don't need a coach. What we have is a companion. The support of the companion is so very important. A woman's posture is so important. She needs to stay away from bucket seats. And today that's a very difficult thing because every automobile that you step into has bucket seats. And so we recommend that they get ortho pillows that will fill in that dip at the back of the seat so that the body is not sinking into that with her knees higher than what her body is. And we say, please stay away from recliners and things like that. Her posture is extremely important, too. And I'm trying to think of what... There are 10 things
I think the ball, this sports ball, is very good, isn't it? For a good posture.
I'm not following you. The sports...
This ball to do exercises to
the
sit
ball,
and
yes.
For relaxation.
That will keep her back really good and straight if she sits on it. And our executive director, Sherry, says take the birth ball and fill it on the bottom with sand so that it will really, really stabilize it. And that's what you should watch television when you're at the computer. Yes, the posture is so important.
Yeah. In this preparation part, I will say that there are some things that we have to be saying no to. And one of the things that I do for myself as a pregnant woman, I run away from any horror story.
Exactly.
What other things we should be running away from?
We have buttons that say please. They're, maybe about 2 inches across. And they say, please, only happy birthing stories. My baby is listening. And that stops people quite readily from telling their horror stories. You know, it's a funny thing. If you get ready to go on vacation or holiday, nobody tells you it's going to rain every day. No one tells you that your hotel is going to be terrible. It'll be dirty. It'll be this, that. Everybody is so happy for you. But for some reason or other, people want to tell a pregnant woman all the worst stories that they can think of. And you do need to really develop a buffer for that. Some of our women will say, oh, well, wait, please. Let's talk about birthing after I have my baby so I can really join in. And so we tell them it's so important to dismiss what others are telling them of horror stories. These others have not practiced and have not studied hypnobirthing the way hypnobirthing moms, and it is a study. It's not just something that you can go to on a fast weekend and learn how the baby descends and how the baby emerges. There is just so much more to being a parent and to being a birthing parent.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Another thing that we tell them, too, is that at this point in their lives, it's more important for them to be good parents than good patients. They need to ask questions. They need to listen to their midwives and their doctors. And when I say that, I don't mean now listen to your doctor. I'm saying listen. Listen to what the attitude is of the person that you've hired to work with you in your birthing. Does that person speak of all of the things that could go wrong, or do they encourage you by saying, you know, you're healthy, your baby is healthy, everything is fine, and we have no reason to believe that the birth won't be beautiful? That's what they need, and they need to listen to the things that their care providers say.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this. The number one, to be good parents, because we have the responsibility for somebody else, and then good patients. Yeah, I totally agree. In the method of hypnobirthing, as you said, is something that is absolutely impossible to learn in few hours, let alone now in this short conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about so many things, you know, postures, breathing, visualization. Could you, you know,
and deepening too. We
there
teach them
so many things.
Yeah, we teach them relaxation. Yeah. But another part of our program is we teach them how to bring themselves even deeper into that state where they really are communicating with their baby, and the whole world just goes away. Now, it doesn't mean that they're escaping their birthing. That's a misconception with hypnobirthing, is people say, oh, I want to be aware of my birthing. And that's just what we are helping them prepare to do, so that they can close off all the other distractions and focus only on their birthing. It's not that we are distracting them. We're taking away the distractions that other people cause. Yeah. And you just can't do that in a quickie, you know, weekend. You have to practice in between and build on the skills that you're going to be learning. And our program is a series of 5 meetings, and each meeting is usually 2.5 hours. And then we also offer even further help for them if they want to have more relaxation, or if they feel that there are other things that people have said that maybe frighten them and they begin to have doubts. And doubt is as bad as fear.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to help them to avoid.
Absolutely. Can you give us a taste of because you have it's so rich, you know, in these 5 meetings, 2.5 hours, you learn so much. But can you give us a taste of the techniques that you use?
Well, the first lesson is actually showing them and telling them and having them experience the fact that pain does not necessarily have to be. We show them what doctors have said, that have written in favor of natural birth, and we do exercises with them that show them that yes, they can do a lot with their mind, and how easy it is for the mind to really experience something that they are experiencing so easily. What I'm getting at is they can slip away into this, to a place where they can communicate with their baby and their body very easily. And that's what we do in the first classes, teach them how easy it is and why there doesn't need to be pain. And we go through, this is one of the lessons, it's one of the few lessons that we actually handle in the anatomy in it. We talk about how the body actually works and what can actually be an obstacle to its working, so that if they understand, oh my gosh, that's what is holding me back. It's what I'm doing, the obstacle, fear. And then in the second one, we do a lot with prenatal bonding with the baby. The baby hears and knows everything. And for years, it was thought that they just didn't understand anything, that they were just sort of there. And even after they're born, they're just sort of there. And they're not. Their minds are really developed, but they can't express. They can't speak the way we do, but they do learn to articulate later. And we talk about the things that parents can do to really bond with their baby before the baby is born. We then go into all kinds. Go ahead.
Let me interrupt you, Mary, there. I think this is extremely important, this prenatal bonding. But I want to hear more from you of why is this important?
Well, studies are showing now that people who are disturbed and have a difficult time emotionally in life, if they are able to go back and relate to the attitude that the parents had when the baby was born, or even before, when conception, how was the baby treated? Is it told that we really love you, we're welcoming you, we're looking forward to your being here? Because, as I said, babies do know. They have an intelligence, and they are able to use it, and they do sense things. They really do. And they're finding now that there are people who are adults and talking with the mother of these people, that the mother openly said things like, I don't want to be pregnant, I don't want this baby, this isn't the time. And it does leave an imprint. That the baby is able to hear that, and it leaves an imprint. It is just so important. And it's so important, too. I tell my moms, plan your birth with the baby. The baby knows, actually. The baby knows probably better than the mother knows how to do it. And it's no accident that the baby's chin is tucked down to its chest and that its little arms are sort of folded over each other. They know exactly what to do. They know how to get in position to be born. And that's why it's so important that parents, that mothers carrying babies will carry them in such a way that the position will be the proper position. And it just is, it's so important to involve other siblings also in the family. And they're finding that it develops a much better relationship of one sibling to the other. If they have, the sibling is being involved in the talking and so forth.
Oh, I'm so delighted that you tell us this, because this is so important. This part of the welcoming a new person in this planet. It's so crucial.
Mm-hmm. I have a wonderful story. I was attending a birth one time, and the father said to me, would you take our camera and will you stand at the foot of the bed, and will you focus the camera on us? And I said, yes, not knowing what he was going to do. And he sort of jumped up on the bed beside his wife, and he put his arm around her. She was propped up with pillows. She was having a beautiful labor. She was not in any distress at all. And he said, okay, go ahead and start. And so I put the camera on, and what he did, he started and he said, hello, Emma. You're our baby that's going to be born today. And he went on and talked about how they have waited so long and how they have they love her already, and they just can't wait to hold her. And then the mother did the same thing. So they filmed a message to the baby during the birthing, and you can just imagine how that child is going to feel in later years to hear that message from the parents.
Well, absolutely. Oh, this is something that everybody should be doing.
Oh, yes, definitely, definitely. You should walk away from a birthing feeling that it was the most exciting, the most joyous, and the most beautiful event of their lives. And people will say, oh, well, it's painful, but you forget the pain. But obviously they don't, because that's all they pass on to other people is, you know, how horrific their birth was. And it doesn't need to be that way. And I guess the biggest component is the trust that it doesn't need to be that way. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wow. It's, guys, everybody on the line, this is just such a scratch on the richness of hypnobirthing. You cannot imagine the depth of these conversations, of this knowledge. I mean, you heard when Mary started with this method. So in the meantime, she's learned so much, and she's changed so many lives. It's really incredible. And as she said, she's all over the planet. Here in the Netherlands, when I had my baby 2 years ago, there was, I think, 2 practitioners, and I think, I don't know, today, at least there are 3. I don't know if there are 4.
There
but
are more than that now.
Growing.
Oh, yes, it's growing in Holland. It is absolutely tremendously growing, and you've got such wonderful leadership over there.
Yeah.
It should be very easy for them to find an excellent practitioner who will work with them.
The beautiful thing of giving birth here in the Netherlands is the midwives, because there is a lot of possibility to have your baby at home and rent or buy a water tub for birthing.
Are you planning to do that?
Yeah, definitely. It's what we did last time, and it's what we are going to do next time.
Wonderful.
So, a combination of hypnobirthing and water birth. But honestly, for water birth, I sincerely, for birthing, I was 100% hypnobirthing mother.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah. And I'm sure your child thanks you too.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited because she's a girl and she'll be a mom at some point.
Right. Yeah,
Mary,
I really feel that my daughter, Maura, who was the first fully hypnobirthing baby all the way through, she didn't know, of course, because I wasn't doing hypnobirthing, but really I was. It was before the program was founded. But she was the first hypnobirthing mother also. And I really feel that there was a memory there in her cells that helped her birth, because she didn't have the advantage of watching births that are so beautiful, and she didn't have the advantage of hearing other mothers talk about it. But I really think that it makes such an imprint that it was there for her when she brought her own baby into the world.
I believe so. I believe that your method is so powerful that it really is changing the people who are being born. Their brain is not damaged.
Right.
And that makes a huge difference for the rest of the life of the individual.
It definitely does.
I'm so delighted. I think I could be talking with you for hours and hours, but I don't want to abuse you.
It's my favorite subject, so you're not accusing me at all.
Mary, please tell us what you are up to. What's the Hypnobirthing Institute? I have here your book, Hypnobirthing, the Mongan Method. Tell us what else you're doing, how people can get help from you and your team that is worldwide. A person who would like to be working with you, what can they do?
Well, right there in the Netherlands, they have, as I say, have a wonderful, wonderful leadership there. If they go to the website, www.hypnobirthing.com, and go to the buttons at the top, they will find a practitioner, and you'll find that, there are several of them. And in fact, probably about a dozen of them now, if not more.
Wow.
And you can get the name and their address, and they'd be happy to hear from you, and would be very happy to work with you, because this is something that gets almost addictive for the practitioners. It's such a labor of love to work in this field. It really is. And they'll be happy to work with you if you just call them and tell them you're pregnant and you'd like to attend a class.
I'm just following your instructions, and yes, indeed, to my surprise, because honestly, I didn't check this before. They're everywhere in the Netherlands. There are so many. I cannot count them so quickly. And of course, there are people who are also listening to us from other countries in the world. But you have so many countries that is just, of course, all over the U.S. and in so many other countries around the globe.
It's about 42 countries now.
This is just terrific, and I will say we want more.
And the practitioners now in Holland are able to work with materials that are translated.
Yeah.
So that will be a big boom. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and my partner is a Dutchman, and I'm originally from Mexico. So at home we speak 3 languages, the Spanish, the English, and the Dutch. And you have translated everything in the 3 languages. So we were using Hypnobirthing in the 3 languages during the birth of our little one.
It's about 6 languages now, Korea and Japan. And in many of the countries, it's in Malaysia. We've got translations all over.
Yeah. So, guys, you're not going to have trouble if your native language is not English.
No,
Mary has that for us.
Our basic rainbow relaxation that is really the cornerstone to the relaxation program has already been translated into Dutch. And when I say you've got wonderful leadership there. And one of the practitioners has put that all into Dutch, and another is working on all of the handouts that they receive will be in the language they feel most comfortable with.
This is just terrific. Mary, I really sincerely hope that we get more hypnobirthing mothers with these joyous experiences of birthing, and even more practitioners that they say, I not only want this for myself, but for others.
Oh, yes.
Because I really wish that the entire world is born in a peaceful, loving, and natural way.
Yes, that really, you can really, they say, judge a society on the way it treats its beings as they come into the world, and we want to be sure that it is a very soft, mellow, and peaceful way.
Mary, I cannot thank you enough. This has been outstanding for me, for the listeners, and I send you all love and blessings for you, for all your family, for your huge family, for your children and your grandchildren. Thank you very, very much.
You are very welcome, and thank you for the interest you have. It's really wonderful.
And thank you, everybody, for being on the line today. We will continue, of course, with the program of the Pregnantpreneur Project. Thank you very much.